Good morning, and thanks for joining the Daily AI Digest. It's Wednesday, February 25th, 2026, and we are tracking a really fundamental shift happening across the entire AI landscape today. So, what's the big story today? Well, it's all about this massive pivot we're seeing. It feels like the whole AI world is moving on from what you might call the generative hype phase. All the experimentation and into something much more tangible. We're talking about the hard-coded, agentic reality. These are AI systems that are being deployed in the real world with huge amounts of money behind them and, of course, very real consequences. All right, so where does a shift this big even start? Well, it starts at the foundation, right, with the hardware itself. Let's dive into our first big story, the new power structure that's emerging from what many are calling the semiconductor supercycle. The number that has everyone talking today is $60 billion. And that $60 billion, that's the price tag on a brand new strategic alliance between Meta and AMD. But you gotta look closer at the details here, because this isn't just a simple case of buying a ton of chips. The deal is actually being measured in power capacity. We're talking 6 gigawatts. And get this, it includes 160 million warrants. So what does that mean? It means Meta now has a serious equity stake in its own supplier. The official goal is to power their huge personal superintelligence project. But the real story, the big shift, is that these tech giants aren't just customers anymore. No, they're becoming part owners of their entire supply chain, just to make sure they get the power and the hardware they need. And honestly, this Meta-AMD deal just perfectly captures the new way we have to think about scale in AI. It's not about counting individual chips anymore. That's the old way of thinking. Today, the real bottleneck, the thing holding everything back, is energy and infrastructure. And that's exactly why you hear the industry talking in gigawatts of power now. It's a whole new ballgame. Okay, so if AMD and Meta are making moves, what about the giant in the room? All eyes are on Nvidia, right? Their earnings report is dropping after the market closes today, and the revenue expectations are just astronomical. But the number that has the rumor mill absolutely churning is a potential 30 times billion-dollar investment into OpenAI. If that happens, you're looking at a valuation of around $730 billion for OpenAI. It just goes to show you, Nvidia's strategy isn't just about selling shovels in a gold rush anymore. It's positioning itself to be the central bank for the entire AI economy. Now, all this power getting concentrated in Silicon Valley, you can bet that's not going unnoticed around the world. And it's sparking a totally new kind of global strategy. So for our next story, we're shifting our focus from California all the way to New Delhi to look at the rise of what's being called the sovereign AI play. And it kicks off with an OpenAI for India program. So, you might be asking, what on earth is sovereign AI? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a new model where a top-tier global AI lab, like an OpenAI, partners up with a massive local industrial company. The whole point is to roll out that advanced AI inside a country, while, and this is the really important part, making sure it all plays by that nation's rules for data residency and security. And this OpenAI for India program, it's the first real-world test case for this whole sovereign AI idea. You've got OpenAI teaming up with the absolutely huge Tata Group. They're going to be the anchor tenant for Tata's new HyperVault data centers, starting at 100 megawatts with a roadmap to a full gigawatt. But it's not just about the infrastructure. This is also a massive investment in people. They're going to use ChatGPT Enterprise to upskill Tata's existing workforce, and they're aiming to provide AI training to 1 million young people across India. This could very well be the template for how advanced AI gets deployed all over the world. Okay, so from the national level, let's zoom in a bit to the enterprise software world. For a while there was a lot of fear and uncertainty, but now it seems to be in the middle of a major comeback. And it's all because of this new approach people are calling the enhancement doctrine. It wasn't that long ago that the big narrative was this SaaS apocalypse. Everyone was worried that these super powerful AI agents were just going to come in and make platforms like Salesforce totally obsolete. But what's actually happening is turning out to be something completely different. Instead of replacement, we're seeing AI augmentation. The AI is being built into these existing platforms, acting like a new cognitive engine that just makes them way smarter. They're not being killed off, they're being enhanced. And if you want a perfect example of this in action, look no further than Anthropic. They just rolled out a new enterprise integration suite for their AI, Claude. And you can see here, these aren't new standalone apps that are trying to replace anything. Nope, they're plugins. They're designed to just weave themselves right into the workflows companies already have. from banking to HR, and connect with the tools they're already paying for. And Wall Street? Well, they loved this news. The reaction was pretty much instant. You can see companies like Salesforce, DocuSign, FactSet, they all saw a nice bump in their stock price. And that's a huge signal, right? It shows investor confidence is flooding back into this sector. The big takeaway here is that the market is placing its bets. And it's not on the disruptors who want to tear everything down. It's on the integrators, the companies that make existing systems even better. Now, as AI gets more powerful and really starts weaving itself into everything we do, you get two sides of the same coin, right? On one side, you have these incredible scientific breakthroughs, and on the other, you have these growing battlegrounds over security and regulation. So let's start with the breakthrough side of things. This quote here really says it all. The idea is that AI is shifting into this role of a conjecture engine. Think about that for a second. It's a tool that can see these incredibly deep mathematical patterns that the best human minds might have overlooked for generations. The model that did this was GPT 5.2 Pro. It was put to work on a really thorny problem in theoretical physics. And to put it simply, it looked at a problem where scientists have assumed for decades that the answer was basically zero. Well, the AI came back and conjectured a totally new formula, suggesting, hey, I think you're wrong. I think there's something here. You don't have to be a physicist to get how huge that is. This means AI is becoming a genuine collaborator, a research partner, at the highest levels of science. But of course, that kind of incredible power immediately brings up the other side of the coin. With great power comes great risk. And speaking of risk, today is a massive day for regulation. The EU AI Act officially begins enforcement today. Right now, systems that are considered an unacceptable risk, we're talking about things like government social scoring, are now banned. And the next deadline is August, when the rules for high-risk systems, think AI used for hiring or credit scoring, start to apply. And the penalties here have some serious teeth. We're talking up to 35 million euros or even 7% of a company's global revenue. Here's another number for you, 300,000. What is that? Well, a new report from IBM just revealed that's how many ChatGPT credentials were stolen and exposed by malware just last year. This points to a massive new security flaw that they're calling the AI identity crisis. And think about it. Losing your AI login today isn't like losing an email password. It's more like handing a thief the keys to your company's brain. Okay, so let's bring all of this home. How are these giant trends, all this power, this money, this risk, actually going to show up in the devices in your hand and in your home? This is where we see the rise of the agentic interface. Get used to hearing this phrase. Hey, Plex. It's the new wake word for the Samsung Galaxy S26. Yeah, that "Hey Plex" phrase signals that Samsung is building the Perplexity AI engine deep into its new phone at the system level. It's a direct shot at the way we've used phones for years, and it's just one headline in a flood of them today. You got a startup, Maddox, raising $500 million to build specialized chips just for LLMs. You've got World Labs raising a cool $1 billion for so-called spatial intelligence. And then there's Apptronic raising over $500 million to build out its fleet of humanoid robots for warehouses. It's all pointing in the exact same direction. AI is jumping off the screen and into the real physical world. So when you put it all together, the gigawatt-scale data centers, the national AI strategies, the AI co-pilot for scientists, the phone in your pocket that's now an agent, it all leads to one single conclusion. The agentic era isn't something that's coming, it's here, now. And that leaves us with a really big question to think about. Are we simply building more advanced tools? Or are we actually, right now, building the foundational cognitive layer for the entire 21st century economy?